What's going on, Falcon fan? This is your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. So today, guys, we're gonna talk about the Atlanta Falcons. They have made their choices for the new front office. The new regime is set, and now we're gonna see what's next. I'm going to give my idea of what I think a great offseason for the Atlanta Falcons would be. Hey, for all you guys that know, let's see, can we get this video to the Atlanta Falcon front office, to Matty Ice, to Ian Cunningham and Kevin Stefanski? Hey, I'm telling you, they do this. I think we all will be happy with the direction of Falcons going in. It not have to be the per se players or right decision, whatever, but something around these lines. I think if the Atlanta Falcons make this decision, I think they're starting this new regime off in the right direction. And I hope you guys agree with me. But we're going to talk about today. First, we're going to talk about the new staff that Atlanta Falcons have added some more guys to the addition. I am really impressed with what Kevin Stefanski is doing with his staff. Adding guys on. We're going to talk about some of those new guys they added on. Um, and then we're going to talk about the next steps for this regime. We're going to really get into it. The decisions they should make, to start this season off, since now everybody's in place. I'm sure now they don't have multiple conversations already. We're going to get to hear from the new general manager here on Tuesday. So definitely be on the lookout for that, see what he has to say, see if he can bring any insight on some of these conversations that they already had. But guys, it's a couple of weeks away from the combine. Um, like I said, the new league year is coming up next month. By the way, happy Black History Month to everybody that's out there. It's February. We're already in the second month. But the offseason has already started, especially for Atlanta Falcons, and they got a lot of decisions to make. We're going to definitely talk about the team free agents because that's huge. And then we're going to talk about some of the Atlanta Falcons free agency needs. So, really, really quick breakdown. But this is my idea, what I think the Atlanta Falcons should be doing. And I'm sure they're going to hit on some of these things. Maybe not all of them, but they definitely going to hit on some of them. And I want to get you guys' opinion, what you think about um, my thought process of how this thing should really, really go, right? Like I said, if anybody know any Atlanta Falcons front office people, you know how to get them this video, go ahead and get it to them. So, guys, with that being said, if you have not already, go ahead and please subscribe to the channel. Please hit that notification bell so you do not drop another video. Please hit the like button so I know you guys are here to talk about. Then please share my video throughout the YouTube universe so more people can come hear me talk about. That's right, these Atlanta Falcons. So, guys, we're going to get right into the conversation today. And the first thing is, like I said, the Atlanta Falcons have added more staff additions to this team. The first is somebody in the front office. Well, this is really not a new ad. It's just changing his title, and that's Tumbo Tokumbo Adebekembeda. Just we're going to call him Tumbo, guys. But he's the director of the scouting um, for the Atlanta Falcons. Now, this guy is one of the guys that went down to the Senior Bowl that I mentioned. Before they had a general manager in place, he and another gentleman actually went down to the Senior Bowl to make sure that the Atlanta Falcons had representation down there to go look at some of those guys. But Tumbo is being elevated to the director of scouting. He's been with the Atlanta Falcons since 2012. So, just kind of get all the talent that he has an opportunity to be scouting since that time. His previous title was director of college scouting. So he just got promoted to director of scouting all the way together. So that's what he his new title is for this Atlanta Falcons team. So, um, that's good on him. He's definitely going to be able to bring some insight. Somebody that has familiarity with this team already, can help the new GM and Ian Cunningham, kind of get a foundation of where the Atlanta Falcons stands now, to help all three of these guys because all these guys, in essence, is new shit. I believe I probably know this team better than some of these guys do that just coming into the building. So that's why we should, like I said, give them my video and then we could we can talk. They want to give me some kind of put me on retainer or something because I can help these guys build this team the right way. All right, the next guy that the Atlanta Falcons added was the player of the passing game coordinator Tanner Engstrand. All right, this guy he's an experienced offensive coach who spent 5 years in a variety of roles with the Detroit Lions. He was the tight end coach. Then he became a passing game coordinator. The year that the Detroit Lions actually went really deep in the playoffs. Then he actually followed Aaron Glenn to the New York Jets to be the New York Jets offensive coordinator. So we do know what happened with that. He helped lead the team to multiple categories, including um, 564 points, 70 first downs, 410, while recording second most net yards. Now, this was what they with Detroit Lions, of course, not the Jets, because we know what happened with the Jets. That team was not, set up correctly for them to succeed. But this guy is, study up on the Ben Johnson. We know all the respect that a lot of people have around the league around Ben Johnson, but he studied up on the Ben Johnson for multiple years. And then, once both of those guys, Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson, actually took a head coaching job. Aaron Glenn decided to bring over him to be his offensive coordinator. So that's one of the things that we definitely can see from this Atlanta Falcons team, bringing in somebody with offensive coordinator experience to be the passing game coordinator, somebody that study up under another successful offensive coordinator. So you like this ad for the Atlanta Falcons, to go along aside the young offensive coordinator in Tommy Reese. So yes, bring in another offensive mind, somebody that's going to be able to help develop the passing game for the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons also added um, Alex Van Pelt, right? This guy was also offensive coordinator. So you see where we're going with this. The Atlanta Falcons have ordered, it has brought in multiple offensive coordinators. Um, some people thought maybe he's bringing somebody over from the Cleveland Brown staff, which is true. But his last previous role, he was the senior offensive assistant to the Los Angeles Rams. So um, he was being tutelaged by Sean McVay. We know how much respect we have for him. Before that, he was the offensive coordinator for the um, the New England Patriots under Gerard Mayo. And he actually helped develop some of what you see in Drake May today. Of course, you know Josh McDaniel took it to a whole nother level, but Drake May first season coming in where he showed some flashes as a young rookie. Alex Van Pelt really had some say into that. Now he was with the Cleveland Browns um, in 23 and 24, which he was part of some of those some of Kevin Stefanski playoff runs where he was there. He also spent time with the the Green Bay Packers, where he was the quarterback coach for Aaron Rodgers as well. So he has seen, being what it looks like to be a MVP type quarterback. Like I said, studying up on Aaron Rodgers. So with that being said, the Atlanta Falcons bring in another offensive mind. Now he's coming in as the quarterback coach, so he's going to be in help try to develop Michael Penix Jr. and any other quarterback that the Atlanta Falcons decide to put on their roster. So um, two offensive coordinators coming in to go alongside Tommy Reese and the offensive mind of Kevin Stefanski. This Atlanta Falcons um, offense should be, you know, better than what it was last year based off all the offensive minds they're bringing in. Got an offensive head coach. You're bringing a young offensive mind in Tommy Reese. You bring in two more offensive coordinators to help develop a young Michael Penix. So hopefully, guys, knock on wood because you never know. But with all those offensive minded guys, you know, in within the team, you hope you get some more success from this Atlanta Falcons offense. And we can kind of picture what we thought we was going to see in 2025. Maybe take shape in 2026. Now, of course, that goes along with the special team coordinator that Atlanta Falcons added in Craig Ackerman. Of course, the offensive coordinator and Tommy Reese, the wide receiver coach and Robert Prince, Bob Quinn coming in to be the senior advisor to the head coach. Of course, Bill Callahan being the offensive line coach. And then for the most part, the Atlanta Falcons kind of retained some of the other coaches. Of course, Jeff Ulbrich, Nate Ali, Rudd, right? We still haven't heard about Rickenberg yet because he was supposed to be titled to be the defensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans. So we haven't heard anything that he's going to get that job. If not, Atlanta Falcons will need a new defensive passing game coordinator. So we'll have to cross that bridge when we get there. Um, Atlanta Falcons also brought in Michael Bearden. Sorry about that, Bearden. He's the fellowship offensive assistant. This is something that the NFL has been doing a long time, bringing in some minority candidates to be in the fellowship. He's actually was a fellowship with the Browns last year, so it seems like Kevin Stefanski is just bringing him over in the same role that he was in last year. Um, Before that, he was with the University of Notre Dame, assistant to the wide receivers coach. So um, bringing him in to get some experience, with the NFL team, he's pretty much in the same role he was with the Cleveland Browns. So just bringing him back in. They also brought in the manager of coaching operations, Jacqueline Roberts, bringing her over from the the Cleveland Browns as well. So guys, like I said, this coaching staff is taking shape. I'm not 100% sure they through yet because they probably still have a couple more coaches to bring in. But from an offensive standpoint, you do like all those offensive minds that they bringing in. Of course, you got the head coach, you got the OC, and you brought in two more OCs to play a pivotal role. One the passing game coordinator and one to be the quarterback coach. So with that being said, I really like what we have so far from development coaching staff. This is one of the reasons why Matt Ryan wanted a seasoned coach, somebody that can come in and create a staff, a really good staff to put beside this young talented team that Atlanta Falcons have. Um, you look at around the league and you see some of these other new coaches. You know, when you don't have that cachet being a head coach, you're going to bring in. You don't want to bring in a lot of young new coaches to try to build a team. It's going to be interesting to see what Clint Kubiak is going to be able to do, what kind of staff he's going to put together, especially being the last coach, to actually get hired. It has been announced that he's probably going to take the Las Vegas Raiders job, but it's going to be interesting to see his coaching staff that he assembled because with 10 opening spots, a lot of these coaches already have picked their spots and things like that. So I'm really going to be interested in that. But Kevin Stefanski have done a great job developing for staff. I know a lot of people saying, well, it's the Brown, South, whatever. A lot of these guys not directly came, was there the last 2 years, like a guy like Alex Van Pelt. He's been gone a couple of years, so he wasn't even there for the whole eight wins 2 seasons that the Kevin Stefanski had. Had already been gone. Like I said, he spent his last year with the Los Angeles Rams as a senior offensive assistant. So, but his resume speaks for itself. Some of the people that he had been around, and his offensive mind already being an offensive coordinator, I think is going to help. So, guys, let me just think about the staff so far. Do you like where the Atlanta Falcons is going with this? It is a experienced staff. We don't have no coaches that does not have prior experience doing what they was doing before. So that's one good thing about it. When Raheem came in, I think that was one of his biggest mistakes. He hired two of his coordinators who had never been coordinators before, and I think that hurt him more than anything. Because the first year he had to fire the defensive coordinator, and he just went through the growing pain with Zach Robinson his first 2 seasons, and we saw how that turned out. I do believe Zach Robinson eventually is going to be a pretty good offensive coordinator, but you can't do that when you have a young quarterback that you're trying to groom and young team, that you had. It just didn't work out, and Raheem paid the price for it. Now it is reported that he's going to be the defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. So congratulations to him on that. But um, let's go, guys. Let's see what the Atlanta Falcons going to do. I like this staff, and definitely let me hear your thoughts on it. What you guys think about it. Let's get some of these comments in. T. Terry said the Atlanta Falcons are building a dream team for the offensive side of the ball. That's what I agree with you, man. They really are. He said, you got to get a quarterback one first. Well, we don't know if we don't have a quarterback one. That's the question. That's the question. And it's so funny that a lot of people are assuming that Michael Penix is not going to be the guy. You do not. You have no clue if he's going to be the guy or not. And that's where you have to give this team time. You have to find out. And then once they be able to do that, right? We don't know if Michael Penix is going to be the guy, but to say that he's not, it just is not being, genuine. You already like he's better than he did better than Desmond Ritter so far. I can tell you that much. What cards do you have on the cards? Listen, we're gonna get down to the nitty gritty, man. I'm gonna tell you about what I got. The Jets beat the Falcons. Yeah, man. I don't know how many times I'm saying that. That's why Raheem got gone, because the Jets beat the Falcons. I'm shocked that Detroit, Chicago didn't take him, Turner, back after they brought him in, interview his Jets release. I'm questioning. Now, it was reported that Tanner did have more offers, but he decided to come to Atlanta Falcons. So that tells you a lot. The respect, first of all, the respect that he had for Kevin Stefanski, because he did have other offers to come in with other teams. Also, I think, he looked at the talent that this Atlanta Falcon team has and, potential what it could do and how he could help assist this team begin to, reaching this ceiling that it should be reaching. Said, wait one, we're talking about basket. I don't know what that means. Rise up, what's going on? AVP is a decent quarterback. Who is AVP? You probably mean the same. Michael Penix. The Falcons are building a dream team offense. I've seen that. And he has play calling intangibles. Yes, all those guys they brought in was offensive coordinators. So, happy birthday, Falconary. What's going on? Great staff. What champions made of. We'll see, man. We'll definitely see what this staff going to be all about. Ricondo add Matty Ice to that coaching room. He's the president of football. Exactly. Right. He know how to play quarterback position. So great point. Didn't even look at that way. He do add Matty Ice to that, because his mind definitely is going to be have some input in as well. So Stefanski always kept good staff with him. That's not the worry. Stefanski will manage his team. Hope so. Michael Penix Jr. will get every opportunity, and the staff is up. Yes, this is Michael Penix's chance, right? By the people that they're assembling to put around him, if he don't get it, he's not the guy, and that's when they'll be able to determine that. And I think they could be able to turn that fairly quickly too. We're going to have you film on the Chicago backup quarterback, Tyler Baggett. He's a perfect backup for the quarterback. I heard about him. I haven't did any research on him. So, of course, Ian Cunningham, coming from Chicago, knows a lot about him. But definitely a guy. I think he's athletic. What I heard, So we'll just have to get some background on him. But I think that more have to be a trade more than anything than a trying to get him in free agency. So, how are you liking the northern weather right now? Man, it's cold. It is cold outside. I can tell you that much. It's cold, windy, not good at all. Not good at all. All right, guys, let's get into the meats and potato of today's show, um, and really the next steps for this Atlanta Falcons team. So when I talk about the next steps, and I'm talking about um, conversations, I'm sure they don't had already. They probably Ian Cunningham probably got in Saturday, Friday, Saturday, come in and start. They already started talking, right? The first thing Matt Ryan talked about was making sure that they go and look at the roster, right? They got to look at their roster and see where they got, where where they need to fill some holes and things like that, and all those good things, right? Contracts, right? Direction of the team. They already said the vision. They want to be a physical team. Sounds like they want to build a team inside out, both fronts, defense and offensive lines, and you build it out. You already have some really good talent around those two, um, position, offense, defensive lines, and then you just have to fill in the holes where you need to fill in. So that's what we're going to really talk about today, and I'm really going to give you my opinion where I think the Atlanta Falcons should go, and definitely want to hear from you guys. Let me know if you agree. If you got any, ideas to add, let me know so we can talk about it. Because, like I said, man, if anybody can get this to Matty Ice, and that trio, let's do this. I learned Cunningham is from this channel. Great hire, yes, man. He stayed in Atlanta, man. What's going on? How you doing today, Rochelle Robinson? All right, guys. So the first thing the Atlanta Falcons need to do, it already has been reported, but the first decision they need to make, in my opinion, is the decision on Kirk Cousins. I really don't think is a really hard decision. The fact that he restructured his contract, he's going to be owed $67.9 million next year. Um, and he's going on 38 years old. I think the smartest thing for Atlanta Falcons to go ahead and designate him as a post June 1 cut. So that would, if I was making this decision, that's the decision I would make. Go ahead and make that. We're going to make him a post June 1 cut. That'll give us $22 million back on the books to add to our cap. Also, if you didn't hear, the cap is going up to over $300 million. So that's going to put the Atlanta Falcons increase to about 22 something million more added to the cap than they previously had. So that's going to really help them be able to do some of these off season decisions that I'm gonna be talking about today. But the first decision I think the Atlanta Falcons need to make is go ahead and decide to go ahead and move away from Kirk Cousins. All right, the reasons I say this because, like I said, of his age, I think Kirk Cousins would be a good backup quarterback, a good somebody to come in and hold the keys down until Michael Penix get healthy. But the problem is Kirk Cousins wants to be a starter, and you can't afford to pay him that much money. So if he's on the team after March 13th, he would that 67.9 become guaranteed. Now, things the Atlanta Falcons could do to keep Kirk Cousins, they could definitely restructure that again to make sure to lower that number in 2027. But like I said, I would think that they would have to guarantee him that he's going to be the starter moving forward. And honestly, the Falcons put an investment on a quarterback at the number 8th overall pick, and they need to find out if Michael Penix can be their franchise quarterback moving forward. That's just good, looking over your investments, right? If it's a good investment or a bad investment, they need to find out. But to have him not get an opportunity would not be a good strategy for this team moving forward. So they need to find out about Michael Penix. Now, Michael Penix need to do his part, of course. He need to stay healthy, and he need to see can he actually be the face of the franchise. But at this point in time, they do not know that. So by having Kirk Cousins here, I think it will just create another distraction. Somebody that still thinks he want to be a starter in this league. The money does just not help this team at all from a team building standpoint. So that's the first step the Atlanta Falcons need to do is go ahead and cut Kirk Cousins to just make it a clean slate for Michael Penix Jr. Now, in the meantime, they will definitely have to go out and find a veteran quarterback to come in because we do not know Michael Penix's status, right? For the start of the season, all the offseason program workouts and stuff anyway, he won't be able to participate in a lot of those. So they need to bring in a veteran quarterback, but not at the dollar tag that they'll have to pay Kirk Cousins, somebody who still think they can be a starter. So, that would be my first decision to make. I would definitely make the decision to go ahead and part ways with Kirk Cousins. And that's what I would do. We got Wallace Smith says, what's good, Ricondo? I think they could bring in a player like Brissett. He played on the Stefanski and could bridge. Yes, perfect example. Somebody like Jacoby Brissett. Jameis Winston is another guy that I kind of consider. Only problem with both of those guys are not they're still under contract right now. So, their new team, like Arizona, just got a new coach and Matt LaFleur. Maybe he cut Jacoby Brissett if he become a free agent. Definitely, that would be my guy. They should bring in, like you said, somebody that played Stefanski already, knows the offense, could definitely come in and be a bridge. But those two guys, I definitely would be right on the top of the list. Now, they could go another youth guy, somebody in free agency, like a Malik Willis or somebody like that. They could do that. Russell Wilson's out there. Other veteran guys, even believe it or not, I'm going to say this name. I know, like, people, are you crazy? But he would be a bridge quarterback. It won't cost that much. And I'm talking about Joe Flacco. Right? You bring him in to be a veteran, right? He knows he's not the starter. Now, Joe Flacco is going to come in. He's probably going to play pretty well within the Stefanski offense, especially if they protect him. So look at somebody like that. You might play better than Michael Penix started off because of his his quarterback acumen. That's just but he would be a pretty good bridge quarterback as well. I know he's old, but I'm just trying to think of somebody to come in until Michael Penix is ready to go and be that bridge for him. That's what I'm looking at. But getting rid of Kirk Cousins is the key. It's just the key. They have to do it. I don't really see another scenario that keeping him unless they just feel like he can win a Super Bowl for them. I mean, this the guy that's $313 million with one playoff win. First of all, I don't even know what we was thinking when we signed him in the first place, because it's not like he had a lot of success, through his career. He only got one playoff win, guys, one, and he's the highest paid player ever in the NFL. So that's insane. But the buck stop here for me. I would not prolong this, this experiment with Kirk Cousins, especially when you invested an 8th overall pick in a guy that you don't know if he can play or not. So that's where I would go with that. He says, what I know, they have a few guys on the roster, 5 players. They're planning to restructure their contracts in order to add to their cap without releasing anyone first. See, so Eddie, our resident insider, he said he had insider notes, so that's what he's saying. And we'll see. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. Kyler Murray coming after his release. Kyler Murray is not a bad, if we can get him for the right price. I don't really like Kyler Murray like that personally, but he has talent. He has talent. Joe Flacco was drafted and Matty Ice draft class. Yes, exactly. I get it. Yes, and guess what? Matty Ice, I played him, but guess what? Joe Flacco got a Super Bowl. That one playoff run that he had when he beat Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. You guys remember that? He had just one of the great playoff runs ever to get to the Super Bowl. I don't see them paying Kurt $67 million if he still's on the roster after March 13th. Exactly, they will have to restructure, and that will have to be a decision they make. And then, but then they will like I said, that means he think he's going to be a starter, and they can't afford to do that with the young quarterback on the team. That's to me that's just not good team building, right? And you're not thinking about the future. You got a new regime. I think you need to do away with the old stuff and start new, right? And Michael Penix is your start. You're not 100% sold on him. I'm not saying that, but he's your your starting point, and then you go from there, right? If you end up that he's not the guy, you can. It's more easy to pivot from him than bringing Kirk Cousins back. That's just my opinion. So that would be my first move. Simple move, but that'd be one of my first moves that the Atlanta Falcons definitely should make. All right. The next thing they should do, and we talked about this, um, is the team free agents, right? Um, Currently, right now, the Atlanta Falcons have 18 unrestricted free agents, right? You look on this list, it's 17 showing, but it's actually 18 unrestricted free agents that the Atlanta Falcons have that they need to make decisions on. Now, some of these guys are going to be obviously, if you look at guys like um, Bradley Pinion, right? That's our punter. I think they're gonna probably make a deal and bring him back. That's easy peasy to bring back Bradley Pinion. Um, Elijah Wilkinson. I thought Elijah Wilkinson played good for us this past season. So you bring a guy like Elijah Wilkinson back probably wouldn't hurt that much. He's going to be the backup. Caleb McGarry is coming back, right? Probably one of the best run blockers in the NFL. We know that Kevin Stefanski loves to run the ball, so bringing back Caleb McGarry back, put him back beside Chris Lindstrom is going to be huge. But bringing Elijah Wilkinson back is important, I think. Um, Zane Gonzalez, I think you bring in Zane Gonzalez, but you bring in competition as well. So you bring in, because I think Zane Gonzalez did a great job for us, but you bring in competition for him as well. Um, and then you look at the key guys that I want to talk about today. Of course, Kyle Pitts, Kay Nellis, um, and of course, and believe it or not, David Amiata. Initially, I thought they might want to get rid of David Amiata. He's getting up in age, almost 34, but they do need a defensive tackle. And I'm going to talk about why I think maybe they should keep David Amiata in my next segment when I talk about the free agents. But um, Leonard Floyd, this is a guy that they might want to consider keeping as well. That veteran president came in. I thought he probably helped, you know, our young pass rushers a lot. His experience coming in. Army Ebiketie, I think he's going to be gone. I think they just have enough young pass rushers where they don't need to spend money on Army Ebiketie. Remember, we got Braylon Trice coming back. You invested in 2 first-round picks on Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr. So Army Ebiketie, I think he'll be the odd man out. But you could bring back Leonard Floyd, somebody with that experience to bring him back. Army Ebiketie probably he's on the younger side, so he might want to get paid more. That's why with him, I think they might let him go. D. Alford is a guy they might want to consider as well. But this right here, guys, this is the first thing the Atlanta Falcons gonna do, right? They have to look at their own roster and look at the impact or letting some of these guys go, right? Because that would affect their decisions in free agency and the draft if they don't look at their own roster first. Some of these guys will impact players for the Atlanta Falcons. Like I said, Bradley Pinion, one of the best punters in the league. Bring him back. You love the way he's able to pinpoint his punts, things like that. So Bradley Pinion, 100%. Like I said, Kay Ellis, I think they need to consider that. I didn't realize Kay Ellis was almost 31 years old, so that's going to be a huge decision for them to do. But they definitely need to look at bringing back Kay Ellis. Of course, like I say, Elijah Wilkinson, D. Alford is another guy. They just missed on Troy Anderson. One reason because he couldn't stay healthy. I think Troy Anderson, if they can get him for a cheaper deal, maybe bring him back because he does have athletic ability, but he just did not show enough for us to actually keep him on this roster. So But anybody else, guys, if you think they should consider some of these guys just would just be added depth for us. Some of these guys was really important on special teams as well. Guys like D'Angelo Malone. You look at him. I thought Contavious Street was huge for us. I don't know what they think about Easton Stick. That's something they would have to look at. Khalid Kareem is another pass rusher, right? So got a couple of pass rushers on here that they definitely could really consider keeping for depth, like I said. But at the same time, the big main names for me would be Kyle Pitts, K. Nellis, Bradley Pinion, um, Elijah Wilkinson, and maybe D. Alford. Consider David Amiyala, Leonard Floyd because they're old and veterans. You want to have some veterans players on your team as well. So those guys could be considered as well. But that's where I look at when I'm looking at our own free agents. Right now, Atlanta Falcons have 18 unrestricted free agents. They do have some restricted free agents as well, guys like David Steele, Seals, and stuff like that. So if you want to look at it, you can go check out, the whole free agent list. But these are the main guys that definitely the Atlanta Falcons going to be considering. This, I'm 100% sure a lot of these conversations probably already been had. So that's where we need to be looking at keeping some of these guys. Um, for me, if you keep a guy like Kyle Pitts, you know, we know Stefanski what he feel about tight ends. That'll take a lot of pressure off getting a another big name receiver in, right? If you keep Kyle Pitts, because you can utilize him, and we know he's going to be utilized more in a Kevin Stefanski offense than he was in a Zach Robinson offense, right? Um, so that's one of the things they can consider. Um, K. Nellis is somebody that, man, led the team in tackles 2 years in a row, right? They use him like a Swiss Army knife. They use him all over the field. Um, Even in coverage, man, I thought his coverage was better this year than it even was last year. So um, definitely a guy that you want to keep. You got to tip your hat off to Elijah Wilkinson. He played right tackle all year for us. He did have some mistakes, especially some penalties where he pissed people off and stuff. But to be a backup um, tackle for the Atlanta Falcons, they can probably get him for cheap, and I would definitely think they should consider keeping Elijah Wilkinson around. Like I said, Bradley Payne, 100%. So these are the free agents, guys. But these are the first things the Atlanta Falcons new regime is going to be looking at is our own free agents. They gotta nail this down and figure out, you know, the money and all this kind of stuff because this is going to factor into free agency as well. So that's one of the things that the Atlanta Falcons definitely need to consider some of these guys. And if they do that, we'll definitely be looking at the right track. So let's look at some of these comments here. You said, I'm keeping Floyd. Um, yeah, man, like I said, they can get him for a cheap. He had a $10 million contract this year. If he comes back for like $6 million, maybe they keep him. But man, I don't know if they're gonna decide to do that. Like I said, because they invested in some young, talented pass rushers. Guy Braylon Trice coming back, another guy. Um, but you can never not have another pass rusher. So I could definitely see them keeping Leonard Floyd, or they could go younger and try to keep Armor Ebiketie. Depends on the price tag, right? Um, Man, they better draft or sign one of these young, good kickers this year. Is a good class of kickers. Why not go ahead and get a potential future kicker? Yeah, I'm not arguing with you that, but like I said, Zane Gonzalez did good for us. It wouldn't hurt to bring both of those guys in, right? Because you can cut one, bring both of them to the 90-man roster, and a young kicker, and along with Zane, and see what they Now Craig Ackerman had Myers on kicker last year. He missed one kick all seasons. So for the Miami Dolphins. So you can bring him over as well, maybe. Right? He has experience with him. So our new special team coordinator can bring the kicker over from the Miami Dolphins, who's a free agent as well. Bring him over and have him compete against Zane Gonzalez. So either way, they have options to do something with a kicker. Um, he said, "I'm keeping Alford 100%. Alford definitely rose his stock. If it was last season, everybody would be like, bye. But the way he played this season, playing outside, filling in for AJ Terrell and filling in for Billy Bowman, D offer really, really did good this year. You said we need Ellis 100%. I do agree they need Ellis. I wonder what his price tag gonna be. Um, like I said, he's a little bit older, so because he's almost 31, they might can get him for cheaper than they would think, right? Um, a kicker is most important, 100%. I agree with you. Um, if you watch the Senior Bowl, the Falcons was talking to linebackers. Yes, we're going to talk about that in just a minute because that's what I believe the Atlanta Falcons need. Who's right? Floyd have to go. You say Floyd has to go? Yeah, like I said, either Floyd. They might go the younger route and try to keep Armor Ebiketie instead of Leonard Floyd, right? You remember Leonard Floyd was a Raheem guy, so you 100% might be right about Leonard Floyd going somewhere, not sticking around with the team. But there you have it, guys. That's the free agents, the team free agents that they currently have right now. It's 18 unrestricted free agents. Like I said, and I think it's some restricted free agents out there as well that they could put tenders on for the restricted guys if they want to. But for the unrestricted guys and the main guys you see at the top there, um, that the Atlanta Falcons got to make decisions on. So there you have it for our free agents, our own free agents, which is going to be huge. All right. The next topic we are going on is they need to resign their young talented offensive players, guys. And what I mean by that is Bijan Robinson and Drake London. Go ahead and lock those guys up. Right? Resign young talent on the offense. Just going to get it out of the way. Bijan Robinson and Drake London. Go ahead and sign those guys to multi-year contracts and put it towards the back end. These guys you're going to have on the roster for years to come, at least for the next 3 years, right? We know they're going to be here. So go ahead and lower their cap number this year to help you build your team and go ahead and put those guys on a contract. No need of waiting any longer. Drake London is going to his 5th year. Might as well just go ahead and assign him. Bijan is going into his 4th season. He has another year, but go ahead and lock him up, right? Especially a guy that almost had over 20. The price is not going down, especially on Bijan Robinson. So go ahead and lock both of your young talented offensive players up, Bijan Robinson and Drake London. Go ahead and do a deal with those guys. Lower their cap numbers. You do Drake London. You can lower his cap number to about almost $5 million on the cap this year. Bijan probably even a little bit less than that because he's like I said, he's not. He has 2 more years, so do it early. Don't wait until the last minute where the price tag is going up. Right, Bijan, if he's not already going to be considered the best running back in the league, and he's going to be one of the best running back in the league money. So go ahead and lock both of your young talented offensive players up. That's what I would do. They have the means to do it. They can do restructures. We just heard Eddie saying that that's the plan they're going to do. They can do restructures on guys like Chris Lindstrom. Right? They can restructure the contract. They can probably restructure Jake. They just signed Drake Matthews, Caleb McGarry. They just re-signed those guys to long term. They can restructure both of those contracts and add more cap to this. Remember, they're getting a boost, $22 million already added to the cap. Which right now, if you look at the current cap, Atlanta Falcons got like $25 million in cap space, right? Once they cut Kirk Cousins, you add a 22 more million to that, right? So 25 plus that 22, you restructure some more contracts. You will be able to do all these things you need to do with this team, right? Go ahead and sign your young talent on offense, Bijan Robinson and Drake London. I think both of those guys need to get locked up. If they do that, that will be huge. These guys are going to be here a while. You know they're going to be here a while. So why wait? Right? Don't pull a Dallas and wait till the last minute and you have to pay out the yin yang and sign these guys because you know you're going to sign them anyway. So go ahead and lock these guys in. That's one of the things they need to do. Young Bijan and Drake, both of those guys, they're going to be here a while. Go ahead and lock both of them up. That's what they need to do. Resign your young talent on offense. Go ahead and do it. And then you might, if you do that, you might have money to even keep Kyle Pitts, like I said earlier. That's one of the things they need to do. Darmar said NFC is up for grabs. Yes, it is. It's 100% is up for grabs. Um, do you think Pitts will be franchised? I think the smart thing to do, because since he's a free agent, they can't talk to him. Maybe they can. I don't know, how that really works because he's on our team. Can they talk to him early? But if they gotta wait the free agency start, I think the smart thing to do is just go ahead and franchise tag him to give yourself time to try to work and negotiate a contract with him. So yes, I do think that, because the word on the street, there are multiple teams just looking at Kyle Pitts to try to pull him away from Atlanta. So if you franchise tag him, he's off the board. They can't even do that. So even if they want to franchise tag him and try to do a trade, that's even better for losing him for nothing. So I think franchise tag is the smart way to do it. Because even if you can trade him and get some draft capital, would be smart. If they do it that way, though. Atlanta Falcons only got 5 picks, but if you might get another second or third round pick for Kyle Pitts if you franchise tag him and try to do a trade, vice just let him walk out the door. So that would be my recommendation. Yes, franchise tag him if they can't come up with a deal. Um, did you see Matty Ice inside interview? He's all about signing players way early in the team. Yes, I did see that. He mentioned that in the order of picks in London. All those guys, you need to sign them early, man. You need to sign them early. And honestly, man, I think the blueprint on it, the way not to do it, is the way Dallas do it. Because Dallas, I think they overpay for their guys. And I'm not picking on Dallas. I'm just saying, I think Dallas wait till the last minute and then they pay their guys over market because they got to keep them. But they knew they was going to keep them anyway. And I think that's the wrong way to do it. Right? If you sign Michael Parsons a year early, you won't have to worry about paying him over $40 million because Myles Garrett and TJ Watt hadn't got their contract yet. So it wouldn't have been set at that level, right? TJ Watt or Myles Garrett hadn't got their contract. Right? They was going to their second contract. Michael Parsons was still on his first. If you sign him earlier, you wouldn't have to worry about trying to go higher than TJ Watt or Myles Garrett. You could have signed him earlier. And that's what I mean. Don't wait. Don't wait until the market rises. Because if you do that, you're going to be screw yourself. When those guys become all pros and pro bowlers and things like that, their price tag is going to go up. It's just the way it is. So that's what I think about it. Bijan is the face of the Falcons. He's becoming the face of the NFL. Look out to that. Yes, go ahead and sign him. Right? He's definitely the face of the Falcon right now. We don't have a quarterback, right? So he's the face of the Falcons, 100%. And look, don't be surprised if Atlanta Falcons get 4, maybe 5 primetime games again on national TV just because people want to see Bijan Robinson. So that's a great point. Debtors are making George Pickens the highest paid receiver in history, a 3-year, $125 million contract. I don't know if Dallas can keep George Pickens because George Pickens is going to get paid. It's just the bottom line. He's going to get his money, man. He had his best season of his career with the Dallas Cowboys. He's on the contract. They already got CeeDee Lamb, paid him a lot of money. So I don't know. It'll be definitely hard for them to keep George, but they could franchise tag him too. I don't know if they're able to do that though, because that franchise tag I think is like $28 million, something like that. So that'll be tough. If Pitts franchise, it'll cost the Falcons more than against the cap vice working out a contract early. Reason being, he made All Pro, and he could keep. But his franchise tag right now is $16 million, so they can franchise tag him. They already $25 million, so they can franchise tag Kyle Pitts. So that's it's easily the franchise. Tight end is one of the easier position you franchise. Not better than running backs. I think running backs like 13, but tight ends is like right after that. So you can franchise tag a tight end for not as much as you would with another position. So Signing guys 1 year early, you 5% guaranteed money, and there you go. You sign them early, you save your money, right? Um, that is not going to pay Pickens higher paid than Lamb. Yeah, I agree. I don't think they're going to pay him. I agree with you 100%. Dallas not going to pay him. Dallas don't have the cap, the franchise tag him. Yeah, Pickens probably gone. And and you look at some of these teams that need receivers, like the Tennessee Titans need a receiver. You pair him with Cam Ward. Woo, that could be nice. Cam Ward, Kevin Ridley coming back. That's a good dynamic duo right there, man. They got the money to do it. The Jets, the Raiders. The Raiders need a receiver. So it's some teams out there that got cap space that can actually give George Pickens the money that he needs. Now George Pickens is volatile though. Man, I'll be worried how I put some language in the contract, to protect myself about George Pickens. But it's some teams that need receivers. 100% will will pay George Pickens. I just named three: um, the Raiders, the the Titans, right? The Bills. The Bills need a receiver, right? Buffalo Bills, Kansas City, maybe even Kansas. Well, they don't have the money, um, but there's some teams that need receiver that just want to pay George Pickens. And you go look at the cap space to where the money's at, and you look at those teams, like, oh yeah, they'll definitely pay that man. Bro, tight ends carry a cap hit for 22 million. That's what. Go look at the franchise tag for it. Go look on the franchise tag for what I'm saying. It's about 16, 17 million. Trust me. All right, guys. Last thing we're going to talk about today is the free agents, right? We got here. The franchise tag ain't for everybody. That's right. It's not. You just can't franchise tag everybody. But I think Kyle Pitts is worth it. That's just my opinion. Some people think they shouldn't, but for me, um, and I think the way he'll be utilized within his offense with Kevin Stefanski, I think it's worth it. I mean, they invested a number 4 overall pick on him. He didn't live up to it, of course, but I don't think he's going to be the highest paid tight end, but he's going to be somewhere around that range. Um, all right, last thing, guys, is free agency. The need for me for free agency, they need a defensive tackle, they need cornerback, but cornerbacks are at the bottom, but they do need to look at a cornerback. They need a linebacker depth, and they need another receiver, right? Those are the needs for me. I think that the Atlanta Falcons should be looking at based off where the team is right now, right? Let's talk about receiver first. We just talked about some of the receivers. I think the Atlanta Falcons need receivers that can push the ball down the field. Um, Rashid Shaheed definitely is a target that the Atlanta Falcons could definitely be looking at. He's a free agent going into 2026. Of course, he's in the Super Bowl right now, but Rashid Shaheed definitely a guy that Atlanta Falcons could look at. Wandale Robinson is another guy that Atlanta Falcons could definitely target, right? Um, he had 1,000 yards receiving. He's a free agent coming from the New York Giants. Debo Samuels is a guy that they could use him in some different ways. He probably don't lost some of his juice, but it depends on the dollar value. You bring in a guy like Debo Samuel, see what the Atlanta Falcons can use for him. What they can scheme up for a guy like that. And then George Pickens, right? He's another guy. If you want to do away with Kyle Pitts, you want to add another receiver, dynamic receiver, and you can add a George Pickens to the list too. You're gonna have to pay him. We just talked about he's trying to break the bank. So that would be something Atlanta Falcons really going in all on offense if they do something like that. But those are just some of the receivers that's out there right now, in my opinion, that they could go out and maybe target for as receivers, right? Like I said, Rashid Raheed, Wandale Robinson, Debo Samuel, George Pickens, all the other guys, if they're not going to do something like that, go into the draft. The draft is really got a lot of receivers, so maybe they want to go in the draft and draft a receiver. That could be something they could do instead of spending money on free agency. So a receiver is not a really need in free agency unless they can get one of these guys for cheap. Definitely, I would look into the draft more anything. Um, Defensive tackle is probably, in my opinion, the biggest need for me for the Atlanta Falcons because I want Atlanta Falcons to be able to stop the run, right? Um, and you look at the defensive tackle list, David Amiyata is one of the first names. And at first, I was like, man, we don't need David Amiyata. He's not big enough. But David Amiyata had 63 tackles for the Atlanta Falcons. That's a lot for a defensive tackle. And he had 1 sack. So um, he's going to be 34 years of age. You probably can get for cheap. So bringing back David Amiyata wouldn't be a bad bet. Now, his market value right now is 8.6 million. I think that's too high. They can get it for cheaper than that. Bring back David Amiyata, but man, I when I looked it up, I was surprised that that he had 63 tackles. That's a lot for a D tackle, and so a lot of production there for David Amiyata, um, and they can get him for a cheap deal. Bring him back. He already knows the defense. You can bring him in and maybe go out and draft a young defensive tackles to go beside him. But David Amiyata is one of the guys that I thought about considering for the Atlanta Falcons. He's already one of our free agents, so just keep David Amiyata on the books. That's somebody you can keep. Um, John Franklin Myers played with the Denver Broncos, no defensive tackle. He had 8 sacks, only had 26 tackles, but this is a guy that helped the Denver Broncos be one of the best defenses in the league this year, right? His market value is like 7.9 millions. So you can bring in a guy like John Franklin Myers from the Denver Broncos, who's going to be a free agent this year. You can bring him in, and he could be somebody defense tackle. I think the biggest thing is they got to be able to stop the run. That's one of the things they want. They talk about being physical in the trenches. Defensive tackle is where they really need to be focusing on, in my opinion. Um, Now you can bring somebody from the Cleveland Browns, Shelby Harris. His market value is only 2.9 million, right? Bring somebody like Shelby Harris. He has familiarity with Kevin Stefanski. Somebody can come in, just adding depth to that defensive line. So Shelby Harris is definitely somebody they can really consider bringing in. And then the last guy from defensive tackle is DJ Reader. He's a little bit older. He's up in the same age round. The David Amiyata coming from the Detroit Lions. His market value is only 3.9. So you're looking at these guys and seeing what you can get for some of these older defensive tackles, but still having productivity, later in their years. But you want to be able to stop the run, and you want to bring us a veteran present. So like if you keep a David Amiyata, you go young in the draft with another defensive tackle. You get a DJ Reader, maybe you can go young, right? Shelby Harris, maybe you can go young. John Franklin Myers is still in his 20s, at 28, 29. If you bring him in, you know, he's also going to bring the ability to rush the passer as well if you bring in a John Franklin Myers. So it's another guy you can utilize him to be able to stop the run and get after the quarterback as well. So those are just some of the defensive tackles, but I think defensive tackle, in my opinion, should be top of the list for the Atlanta Falcons. You want to put more beef up in, more three techniques in this defense to help that young pass rush, do what they do well, and being able to free up some of your linebackers, right? I talked about linebackers. I'm not going to give you any names because I think if they do go linebackers, if they don't keep K. Nellis, I think they need to go in the draft completely with the linebackers. Don't go get any older linebackers out there. Just go draft your linebacker to try to create that depth. That way, you still got the ability to move Jalen Walker around as well. Remember, Jalen Walker played a lot of linebacker in college. If they get rid of K. Nellis, you can see them doing something like that with Jalen Walker, right? Because he has the ability to move all around the field. He did it in college. But I would like him to stay on the edge because I think that's one of his best traits, being an edge rusher. But if they go on a linebacker, I think they should go into the draft and do that. And the same thing for cornerback. I think if you're going to get a corner, Trayvon Walker, of course, probably the best corner on the board right now. You got Jamel Dean, a little bit older, but you get one of those guys, the dollar value, what they'll be asking for. So go into the draft and get your corner. So corner and linebacker, definitely I would go in the draft. Even receiver, I would go in the draft. Defensive tackle, um, bring in a veteran and go in the draft. They only got 5 picks, so they got to be really strategic about this as well. But those are some of the things that I personally think the Atlanta Falcons should be doing. Right? You look at it. Um, I have no reason to think that if they do these things, the Atlanta Falcons will be one of the best teams in the NFC next year. Just my opinion. They right on the edge, guys. We're looking at this team and we're looking at the losses that Atlanta Falcons had. You know, just making stops. Right. We go back to the game 1 of the season. Right. Michael Penix Jr. have a miraculous, quarterback run to the end zone, put the Atlanta Falcons up. Defense can't hold up. Baker Mayfield go down, throw a touchdown. Right? Michael Penix again get the Atlanta Falcons at field goal range. Right? We missed the field goal to tie the game. Right? So this team is right there. Right? That's just game 1 of the season. You go to the New England Patriots game. We take the lead. I mean, we tie the game. Can't make the field goal. We still have opportunity to go down and win that game. Indianapolis Colts overtime game, right? Those games, all those, you think about those 3 games, just those 3, the Atlanta Falcons are right there in all 3 of those games. The New York Jets game is inexcusable, right? They should have won that game going away. So that's 4. So that's 4 games that the Atlanta Falcons lost this season with the talent they got right now. That they could have easily won all 4 of those games with better special teams play, better situational play, on the field. Those are the margins. I came here and I talk about this team winning on the margins, and that's where the Atlanta Falcons have failed so much, winning on the margins. This is what you bring in a veteran coach like Kevin Stefanski. You put all these offensive mind around your quarterback. He started to make better decisions with the football. You get a better special team coach where you won't have bad special teams play, and then you stop the run and let your young, talented pass rushers that you invested in so much get after the quarterback. That's how the Atlanta Falcons can really be deadly this year. So that's the things I'm talking about. And if they do that, that would be really great. So let's look at some of these comments going out. He said Matty Ice, no pitch worth better than any. Yeah, he do. We'll see. Draft Zachariah Branch, Georgia Bulldog product. Yes, somebody that can stretch the field. I agree with that. As I said, going to draft. I agree with that's perfect example. Somebody that's you have locked up for at least 4 seasons, right? Good manageable contract. Yes, perfect guy to bring in. Eddie says you agree with that. We'll be able to get him in the 3rd round. There you go. Yeah. So it's Zachariah Branch, man. I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at it at all. He's a perfect example of somebody that I'm talking about bringing in from the draft standpoint. But guys, that's my idea. That's my idea offseason for Atlanta Falcons. So much more, so much in detail. I know that a lot of more things they can actually do to to make this team better. But if they do those things right there, they're gonna do way more, right? Eddie talked about restructuring more contracts and getting more money in cap space, making decision on other players as well that we might not even know about, right? That they make a decision on. One of the things that I did mention was center, right? And I not saying that I don't like Ryan Newsel, but they might want a bigger center, right? Tyler Lindenbaum is a free agent right now. So you get a guy like Tyler Lindenbaum, and like I said, you got a guy like Bill Callahan. They want to run the ball. You guys remember Alex Mack, right? The Atlanta Falcons went out and invested in an all-pro center and Alex Mack, and the Atlanta Falcons went to the Super Bowl, right? So going out and get a guy like Tyler Linderbaum, I'm not discount Ryan News. I thought he had a fairly good season. It wasn't terrible, right? That offensive line is pretty good. So I'm not saying you need to make a lot of adjustments on the offensive line, but if you want to get bigger, right, they want to run more gap scheme. Tyler Linderbaum, one of the best centers in the league. He's a free agent. They want to invest in that. They talk about, invest in physicality, offensive line. That might be one direction they want to go, get bigger up front. So that's another position that I did mention, but they could go down that route. That could be something they could be considering as well. Like I said, you bringing in somebody that wants to run the ball, right? Sometimes you look at one of the best running teams in the league, Philadelphia Eagles. They got a big offensive line, right? Those guys. You look at the Detroit Lions, got a big offensive line. You're looking at teams that run the ball a lot. The Atlanta Falcons offensive line is not really that big, man. They technicians, man. Chris Nesher is a straight up technician. Jay Matthews is getting old in the tooth. That's the way he is. But so it's a lot of things that you can think about that with the offensive line that they can keep doing. Plus, he can get special teams in return. Say Raheem is going to try to destroy the Falcons when he played the 49ers. Yeah, but Raheem said it himself. Bijan Robinson is the best player in the race. How he gonna stop Bijan? All right, we're gonna keep talking. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I might get up out of here. But there you have it, guys. That is my ideal offseason for Atlanta Falcons. Like I said, if anybody knows that the Atlanta Falcons, let's get the word out and see, right? What I want to do after these, after draft is over, and go back and look, did they hit any of my marks, the things that I thought they should do to make this team better, right? These guys really breaking down, like I said, personally, I think I know this team right better than them right now, right? But they're the ones gonna get into the film and really break it down and get into it. By the time they start making decisions, they'll know exactly what they need to do, right? But me on the outside looking in, watching this team play week in and week out, going to training camp, watching those guys practice, I've seen a lot. So that's the way I feel about it. And we'll definitely see what the Atlanta Falcons are going to be able to do. So there you have it, guys. Let me know what you think about my ideal offseason. Let me know what you think about the new coaching staff, the way they're building an offensive staff for Michael Penix Jr. to get the best out of him that they can get. And let's see what our new general manager has to say on Tuesday as well, and see what he's all about. This is your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. Peace.